people?
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm present.
Good. How you, Rev?
I'm doing good. I just need about 4 more seconds to finish chewing on this carrot cake. And then
Oh, hurt me.
Auntie Loretta King, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
how's everybody doing?
Great.
Good.
Wonderful,
Wish I had
wonderful.
some of that carrot cake.
Yeah.
Uh,
Welcome to our monthly mental health ministry entitled The New Normal Mental Wellness. And so we know that we're going to have a wonderful conversation today. I need everybody that's on social media. Loretta, I thank you for stepping out there and being a trailblazer. Brian, thank you. Dr. Cole, thank you. All right, and everybody else that's tuning in, go ahead and share the post so that we can get more people tuned in. Because I think the conversation is going to really be good. And so go ahead and share the post, share the post. I greatly appreciate it. I'm going to place you in the hands of our co-coordinator of our mental health ministry, Sister Roxalina Rawls. It's in your hands, madam.
Good evening, everyone. First of
Good
all,
evening.
giving honor to my Lord and Savior. Thank you, Pastor Rawls, for this opportunity. And again, my name is Roxalina Rawls, and the topic this evening is the new normal, mental wellness. So let's get started. Have we thought about adopting a new way of living after the coronavirus pandemic? A new normal for ourselves? Is it good? For our families? This evening, I would like to discuss the lessons we may have learned from the experiences and challenges over the last 2.5 years, and later ask you to share some of your personal thoughts. So let's start with an interesting video entitled Lessons the Coronavirus Pandemic Has Taught Us. Pastor,
Yes,
you run that?
Yes, ma'am. Just talk a little bit for me. I got to go find it. I closed it out. Just talk a little bit for me and give me back.
Okay.
Give me about
For much of our focus of the Corona-19 has been on our physical health. So we're going to look at that first, and then we're going to talk about our mental health. And if you need the title, Pastor, is Lessons the Coronavirus Pandemic Has Taught Us. It should come up.
No, I got to find the PowerPoint. I closed it out.
Okay. Well,
we coming. Just a little chit chat. Tell them about your growing up. How I feel growing up in.
Okay. And not too long ago, we were faced with several challenges. One was remote learning, and our children and grandchildren were forced to shelter in at their homes. Some had laptops, others did not. Schools scrambled to get their learning tools in place. As part of their daily school activities, they were unable to meet their friends on the playground, basketball courts, or tennis courts. Their physical activities and exercise was lacking, and they were left with a lot of pent-up energy and emotions. What about our college students? Our college students, their courses were taught virtually. At the end of their college students' education, there were no caps and gowns ceremonies held on campus to commemorate the successful completion of their academics. But on a plus side, when we got the green light for our students to return to their classrooms wearing their face masks, another challenge was encountered. A Florida governor issued an executive order 21-175 in response to several Florida school boards considering or implementing mask mandates. But on a lighter side, I don't know if anyone saw this in the news, where there was a little boy, he was 6 years old, his name was Mason. He lived in Nevada, and his mother had sent him to school with his mask on. and it was picture day. And the photographer asked little Mason, would you remove your mask? And little Mason said, my mother said to keep my face mask on at all times. The photographer didn't stop there. He edged him on. Come on, Mason, you can just take it off for a little while. And Mason said, no, thank you. I was always taught to listen to my mother. So the photographer said, okay, Mason, say cheese. Mason said cheese with his mask on, and his picture was taken. So, Pastor, do you have that ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
Okay, let's look at that, and then we'll go back to the second point in terms of working from home.
Okay. So I guess it's not embedded in there. All right, so that video is not embedded in there?
I'm sorry?
Okay. I'll pull it up. I thought the video was embedded in your presentation. I'll pull it up separately, though. I'll get it for you. Is this the only video that's in the presentation, or some more?
That's the only one that's in, yes.
All right, yeah, I'll put it in there. I thought it was embedded in there.
Okay, well, why don't I go on while waiting for the next point, which is working from home. Individuals set up their workstations in their homes, in their bedrooms, on their kitchen tables and countertops. Some set them up in the bathrooms or nightstands and even in their garages. The plus was family not only had to learn how to live together, but they spent most of their waking hours under the same roof, learning how to work on their work assignments and their school projects. The plus, one of my friends told me that she and her husband had been married for several years and they had children. And as a result of that, they had grown apart. But when the pandemic came along, they learned how to live together peacefully under the same roof. And she admitted to me, she says, you know what? Roxalina, I even have a better marriage now. So that was the plus side in terms of working from home.
All right, we got it now.
Okay, it's
still showing the presentation, Pastor Ross.
Yeah, I got to switch. I thought the video was embedded, and so we're good now. Just give me a couple seconds.
there we go.
Health authorities have activated their most serious response level after an outbreak of a new type of viral disease.
Japan is feeling growing pressure to cancel this summer's Olympic Games as athletes practicing social distancing train from home.
Coronavirus has halted us in our tracks, in our runways and on our roads. As it brought together death and illness, and also curbed our freedom, this period will also be remembered for the lessons it has taught us. Thank you, coronavirus. For in shutting schools, closing markets, slowing work, You have reminded us to be grateful for what we have, to not take any of it for granted. As our normal life comes to a standstill, we are learning to appreciate it for its luxuries and its routine. Thank you for separating and creating a social distance. In that distance, we grew closer. We are now catching up with friends and families we missed while we were too caught up in the busyness of life. Thank you for confirming that it is humans and our activities that have been killing our planet. While cities go under lockdown and we isolate ourselves, nature is replenishing. Skies have become cleaner, water is cleaner, and emissions have reduced, giving us a vision, teaching us this is proof enough to push for long-term changes. Thank you for pushing us to reevaluate our lives, giving us the gift of time, allowing us to pause, reflect, and introspect. We are now forced to prioritize what is important to us. What we thought to be looming problems might not be as big after all. Thank you, coronavirus, for bringing us together as a community, for making us pick our battles mindfully and reminding us that the fight for one is a fight for all. Putting aside our differences, we will get through this as a stronger, more resilient, and a better world for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments? Any thoughts?
Yeah, Sister Rosalina, I like that because it almost put me in the mind of a sermon Real preach when they say for Judas. And then on this it's telling us thank you for the coronavirus because it out did two things. It out brought some people together, pushed them far apart for unity. But I just look at the part when he's saying, how God allowed that to just restore everything, the air and everything. Everybody just be still and let me clean up this place a little bit. Let me clean some things up. And, and it had time for us to realize, that sometimes, it takes us to just have time to ourselves and just separate from everything around us and just get our thoughts together and get ready for this new norm. It gave us time to think about it and write a vision in our lives, how we're going to deal with it, because it's not going to ever be the same again. And that this is the new norm and getting us ready it was preparing us for what's to come. That's what I see just then. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Well, this is Alda Thompson. It made me reevaluate my life. And when you are someone that lives alone, I know I have God with me, but still during the pandemic, when it was really bad, you could not have visitors. So when you live alone, it even kind of got worse. I mean, that spirit of loneliness tried to get in there, kick in and make a mess. And you have to stay on your knees. But thank God that he is who he is. And he promised us he wouldn't leave us or forsake us. So I kept that in my mind all the time. God, you wouldn't leave me or forsake me. I'm here alone, but I'm here, maybe lonely, but not alone. That's the way I put it, because I know, God, you are with me. So I had to reevaluate and even look at the situation with me and my grandkids and family and friends, and I learned to love them more and care about them more, and it really made a change in my life. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for sharing. When you say that, it brings me to one of my other points, there was a lack of social interaction. We were not able to see our family members, friends. You remember there were no funerals or celebrations of the loved ones' lives that were held inside the church. There was no birthday parties, no weddings, things that we normally have in our lives. There was no fellowship with church members, and virtual viewing only if your church was equipped to handle the live streaming. That was a plus. But, we considered ourselves pretty blessed at Greater Bethel because not only did we have the live streaming, we had quality live streaming. Mm-hmm. So, but, these are some things that, we look back over that time that we took for granted and we were without. We were also bombarded with media news, the death tolls. Remember probably every minute, every hour, there was a count of how many people had died locally, nationally, internationally. But on the brighter side, some people started counting their blessings on how many of their family members were still alive and how many who had lived through COVID to tell the story. And that hit home personally with myself and my husband. In the fall of 2020, we both we weren't feeling well and we were tested. We both had COVID. And I'll tell you, it was a pretty rough time. We were not hospitalized, but we spent the time in our house to the point that we couldn't even get out to get our groceries or anything. Some of our neighbors came and they left grocery bags on our front porch. So, I mean, it was a trying time for a lot of individuals. So there were times in terms of the financial stress. Remember the unemployment rate was so high, and several people lost their jobs. They were unable to meet their basic needs in terms of buying groceries or paying their utilities. They couldn't pay their rent or their mortgages. They were faced with evictions and foreclosures. But, on the plus side, there were people that became creative. And I think of my nephew. I have a nephew in the Philadelphia area that decided that he was going to purchase some trucks and turn them into food trucks. So today, I mean, he's a successful entrepreneur as an example of that. I remember some individuals, they received through the COVID-19 relief program from the U.S. Small Business Administration, they received grants and money to help them to start new businesses. So these are major concerns that impacted our physical lives. But what about our mental health and our wellness? Let's explore that just a little bit deeper. So let me ask this question. So do you thank coronavirus for the lessons that we've learned? Do you reflect upon the past and move forward? Are we forced to adapt to a new normal and better future for ourselves and family? Or do we see no change at all and continue to live as we did prior to COVID-19? So I reflected upon that and I started my therapeutic process on the lessons that I learned post-corona. I thought it would be a good idea to contact some of my family members and friends and colleagues to get their perspectives. And I asked the question, what had they learned? And I listened intently to what they had to say. And if they had established a new norm or a new way of living, I was blown away. Their responses were so overwhelming. Most wanted to talk and get their thoughts on the table. They wanted to share their feelings and give their thoughts airtime. And it was quite interesting. So during the remaining moments this evening, I would like to share some examples of their testimonies and thoughts. And then we will hear from our very special guest. She's going to speak to us in some of the things that she encountered over those 2.5 years. And then after that, I'm going to open it up for questions and also personal testimonies. So the first person I've talked with people throughout the country just to see what their perspective was. This comes out of Windsor, Connecticut. Davenport, who happens to be a sister, a friend soon to be an ordained AME Zion pastor and a life coach. And her response was, COVID-19 has been the best of times and the worst of times. And that's taken from the novel, The Tale of Two Cities. She goes on to say, God has given me new wings to fly. I realized during the season of COVID, God will provide wings to fly above your problems. She goes on to say, she learned the power of praise. And recently, she preached a sermon entitled Praise on Full Blast. That was Janet Davenport from the Connecticut area. I also have a cousin, Joyce Howard, a senior citizen in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her response was, the pandemic has reminded me to stay in prayer and to pay attention to the guidance that is being given to me from our Father, and thanking him for blessing me to have made it through this madness so far. That's her reflection on what she went through over the last 2.5 years. I have a comment from A. King, who is a tennis professional, wife and mother of 2 daughters, who lives in Gainesville. And her response was, COVID-19 has taught so many to appreciate every moment and to live life in the moment. Do not be in the moment and think about the next. And health equals wealth. But I've been saying that, she ends by saying, but I've been saying that for the longest. That's A. King. I have another comment from a Charlotte out of Glendale, Pennsylvania. She's a former educator and currently involved in giving back to the community through her volunteer work. And she states, I would have to give thought to what I've learned. I'm not sure I learned anything from COVID experience, but after thinking, one thing I did learn is COVID discourages human contact. This topic will make some people think hard about what God has brought them through. Others will think of all the good, such as opening a new business, becoming creative, and they were able to come through COVID. Another response, and this is from a young Black male, Eric Allen. He's a college student, 21 years old, and his statement is, I have learned to express my feelings more and not hold them in. That's Eric Allen. Comments thrown forth from Thamona McCoy Hart, homemaker, wife, mother of 2, Elmwood, New Jersey. I have learned to remove myself from things that stress me. I previously watched the news all day during the height of the pandemic. It was unhealthy. I learned to regroup by listening to music, reading books, watching movies. Those activities allow me to clear my head of the heavy situations. That allows me to be more present for my family. That's the Mona McCoy Hart out of New Jersey. And I have a comment from my 17-year-old granddaughter, Imani Gordon, who is a senior, high school student, and an athlete. And her comments are, a few things I learned from COVID was that it is very easy to feel unmotivated and lazy. Another thing I learned is how grateful we should be for the people around us, because a lot of people died during COVID. And she also adds, I appreciate the little things in life and live like it is my final day on earth. And one more comment I want to share, and then I'm going to open it up for our special guest. This comment comes from a college professor, Linda, and she states, well, I think the pandemic occurred at the time when I already knew I had needed a time of rest. And so, while the forced situation for my daily routine, massively tight schedules, and full-time hours appeared to be a disaster, Mentally, it was a gift from God. You see, just before the pandemic, I was on spring break and it was time to return to work. I prayed, Lord, I need a little more time to rest. I had worked all during my break. Lo and behold, God granted the immense desire of my heart and put a full stop to all the things that kept me away from a peaceful existence. And the pandemic hit. You see, in 2 years, I didn't travel. I didn't go to meetings except online. I didn't try to make arrangements for any kind, and I didn't go anywhere. I was forced to take some time for myself. I was forced to let go of the obligations that kept me running here and there, back and forth. I developed new ways of enjoying being myself and new ways and reasons for saying no. You see, the pandemic was a godsend for me. Well, I am so sorry for the millions of souls lost. God set me down and said, be still. That's what I did. There's much more to tell, including all of the new ways I can care for myself. But I'll stop right here and say, praise God from all whose blessings flow. Those are some of the comments that I got from individuals throughout the country. So now I would just want to introduce our special guest. And then after that, and I would like to hear some things from her. And then after that, I'll open it up for more comments and testimonies. Our special guest, she is a senior management analyst from the National Capital Region, Washington, D.C., who has served our country at the United States Department of Defense as an Army officer, an international consultant, and a civilian for the last 39 years. She's a dear sister and a child of God, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Loretta King. Welcome, Loretta, to Greater Bethel Mental Health Ministry. How are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good.
I've teared up a couple of times from looking at that video that was on point. I mean, I saw the video before, but it's something about seeing it tonight. Hearing all the other testimonies of the people who are online and of the people who provided you with their information. I must say that all of that resonates with me. I went through all of those feelings during COVID. You know, I went through first being glued to the TV because I wanted to know exactly what was happening. But then I knew it was affecting my psyche about me counting the numbers as the world was counting the numbers. And my current job is to support the Defense Health Agency for Department of Defense. So all of our medical personnel was out there fighting COVID. So I had to make some changes in my life. And as I gave thanks for looking at the numbers, you know, rising on the television and thanking God that I didn't know anybody in my small circle, my family was safe. What was it that God was trying to tell me? Because I knew he was talking to me. What was it that he wanted me to get out of COVID? And after I kind of went through all the emotions that everyone has mentioned, I mean, I wasn't from that, even though I was still working from home. I heard God say to me, what are you going to do to make this situation be a positive situation for you? And I said, say what now? Positive? Out of all this gloom and doom and this death around me and people feeling lonely and lost and hopeless, he said, yeah, I'm talking to you. So I said, okay, all right, I'm gonna build a house. You gonna build a house during COVID when they have shortage of lumber and wood and everything else? And I'm going to enjoy the process too while I'm doing it. Needless to say, that went okay. Things still didn't get back to our normal. So I said, what else are you trying to tell me to do? I said, I'm gonna make you make time for the things that you have been putting off because you've been so busy. I started to journal more. I started to pray more. I started to listen to him more. And then I said, okay, let me get back on the couch. I know something isn't right. On my mask on the outside, everything is fine. But inside, let me go talk to my psychologist so I can go through all of these emotions that everybody else is talking to, because I don't want to hold on to this. I want to let it go. And so that's what I did. I set up some telehealth appointments. We talked through it. They gave me some ways to cope with things. And then that's when all the positive things start flowing. So I'm praying, I'm manifesting, I'm doing everything that I possibly can to say, hey, what can I get out of this situation? What can I do to make myself better? What is it that I need to do? So I've had some hard conversations with God to where I'm about to make some decisions that to the normal person it seems kind of strange. I'm thinking about retiring before retirement age because I have learned to put my self-care first, which means that I want to ensure myself 100% of my self-care, just like I do with my car and my house. And what does that mean? That means that I shouldn't necessarily be aggravated with the job that I do. So I'm looking at that. I'm looking at some other things. But it's funny that everybody's talking about the new normal. Even in Department of Defense, we have 3 classes that are offered to us. The new normal is one. Second is how to deal with change. And the third one is your retirement benefits. So if you can't accept the new normal and you can't accept change, then they're going to show you the door. And a lot of people are electing to be shown the door because they have learned to prioritize what is important to them. And you can't get mad at people. You can't judge people because what is important to me might not be important to the next person. And that's perfectly fine. So my reflection is that I am now giving myself to be number one as far as my self-care. When I put that on the back burner, because I have this big job that I have to do. I take care of a lot of people at work. You know, I take care of my household. I take care of my little dog. And then I might get around to myself. Well, not anymore. So now, instead of me logging on in the morning to do a few hours and then getting off to go to the doctor and then coming back and logging back on because I want to see what I missed, I take a whole sick day to go to the doctor, even though it's a 1-hour appointment. And my boss says, well, can I call you later? I say, you cannot. I'm off tomorrow. I'll talk to you the following day. So again, my actions are not necessarily popular, but I can tell you that I feel better about myself. I feel better through my prayers, through my journaling, through my self-help. We're talking to my psychologist about things. And everything now seems like you can kind of cope a little bit better. But this new normal doesn't scare me anymore. And I kind of welcome it. And I'm really looking forward to it. And I know things probably won't ever go back to how we know it's going to go back, but I feel that we all can be flexible and adjust to it and make it work for us, regardless of how unpopular someone else might think that might be.
Good stuff.
Well,
good stuff.
Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I appreciate everything that Loretta said. And if we wasn't being professional, I would just say Rudder. And but since we being professional, yeah, we ran together coming up. But it, what she said about really focusing on self and not allowing yourself to be burnt out by a job that might not be as satisfying as you would like for it to be. That kind of made me think about. We were just talking the other day, and there's so many. The unemployment is down, but there's so many businesses that can't function because they can't fill the staff. And
Right.
and I'm wondering if
Mhm.
that has a lot to do with people not being willing to tolerate some things they tolerated
Mhm.
before, whether it's pay, whether it's treatment, whether it's just human, decent, basic human consideration. I wonder if the employers are having to deal with the reality that you just can't treat anybody because now people have learned to prioritize themselves. Maybe,
That is
maybe not.
correct. Yes, and I'm going to tell you, in the last couple of years, it's been a lot of our leadership who has left, and they've left without even providing a 2-week notice. I'm talking about something like 48 hours, where they pretty much just gave us a picture of them riding off on their motorcycle in the sunset.
Wow.
So, and I mean, these are true professionals who are very passionate about their job and love what they do. But something clicked where they said, why am I turning this wheel and the wheel is not going anywhere? I got to get out of here. And a lot of people have resigned.
And so that
I
says a lot to me, and it says to, especially if I'm an employer, but even in the position of a pastor, someone that attempts to lead people but depend on people to function, you have to be more respectful, because one thing that people might have learned through this pandemic is to care for themselves. And so we have to make sure we're more intentional about respecting people and the effort that they put into, our vision.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I have
Totally.
a comment
Totally.
about what Auntie Retta was saying. As far as like work and work life, this school year we probably had about 12 teachers just leave before December. And after December, they kept going and they kept leaving. And a lot of it was because they were voicing that they felt that they were not being valued. They were not being treated fairly. And so they were like, well, we don't have to put up with this. We can go work in another sector, in another school, in another county.
Thank you.
So I absolutely agree with that. I wanted to be off this summer doing nothing, doing school, because I have done so much in the past couple of years, and my principal was on me. Oh, please come work this summer, money. And then we sitting back like, money? We don't care about money. We want our peace of mind. We want to be able to rest. So I think people feel like, oh, if they throw money at you, or if they throw this position at you, that you got to jump and do whatever they say. But absolutely, I agree that people are really kind of sitting back like, you're not going to tell me. And if I need to do something different, then that's what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny that you mentioned about the money, because a lot of people have learned to do more with less. So people are not driven so much by, the funds, the dollars, because remember, we've been at home and we've still been happy. You didn't get to take your 5 trips that you usually take per year, but you was just fine, So I think all of that has shown people, like you say, that you have to kind of treat people differently. But if you have an employer who does not provide the work-life balance that you need, you have other people. And you guys are going to laugh about this, but I follow the young kids on Instagram. And they post all these jobs that you can do remote. And do you know, a lot of people are hiring people to work from home and they're giving them unlimited vacation days.
Mm.
Yeah.
Unlimited vacation days. I said,
Mhm.
where do I sign up for that? So what the young kids are doing is they'll go to another country, work remote. You know, the country might be a very, inexpensive country to work in. And while they're there, they might visit other countries because they're halfway there or whatever. And they just go on vacation for 3 weeks out of each month. They're living their best life.
Wow.
And kudos to those young folks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm hearing? You know what I'm hearing more and more is individuals are putting themselves first. How is this going to benefit me and my family?
Right.
Then it's the other, employment. But what about me? What about my well-being? What about my mental health?
Right.
So it's changed everything around.
Because as we all know, these companies were getting rich off of the labor of workers.
Absolutely.
Being billionaires. So, I mean, I think it's great to see that shift that people are saying, you have to give me the proper work-life balance. That's going to work for me and my family.
Exactly. It's not about the money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about me.
Right. Because if I don't have my health, I can't spend that money.
That is correct.
I just want to make another comment just about people leaving jobs where they have been in jobs a long time. And this coincides with this concept of how do you adapt to a new normal. And I'm in a very different position than Loretta in terms of wanting to retire. When the pandemic hit, I was just starting a new job. So I started as a county court judge in 2019. And so in 2020, after being in the position for a year, I was just getting my footing together and understanding what is required of me. And then all of a sudden, life changes. And so what I knew to do as a judge from my 20 years of experience prior to that, and what I had learned over the last year, it kind of all went out the door because we had to do things differently. And so people who have been working in jobs for a lengthy period of time, when you have to make those changes, it's an added stressor because it's not like I've been doing this 30 years and I do it with my eyes closed. Now you added another stressor because if I'm not good with technology, I don't like Zoom, I don't like the new changes that we have to adapt to be able to reach the needs of the people that we're serving, then I have to have a new skill set or utilize a new skill set that in my latter years, I'm not really ready to adapt to, or it's taken me a lot of time to really engage and be as fluent, be as competent as I felt after doing something the same way. But there was no way out because in order to produce, people had to do it differently. And so if you've been there a lengthy period of time, your mindset is such that, am I ready to start all over again? And I can see somebody who has done it forever saying, you know what, I can't start this all over again. So I'm going to cut it short right now. But I think that's a stressor, especially as Loretta was saying, when maybe I felt like I was going to do this about 5 more years. And I had this great plan that if I did it for 5 more years, this is what my retirement was going to look like. But now I got to stop 5 years short of what I was planning and rethink that all over again. And so even though for some people it was a change and it was like, I'm going to do things differently and I don't want to, do things the way I did them before, and I'm looking for the freedoms. Some people were stressed to the point that they had to give up something that they really felt comfortable doing, not because they were ready, but because it changed on them.
Yes. Yes.
Good point. Good point.
Very good point. Very good point. Yeah, about those stressors. But, but again, I just kind of like took the attitude, that's making me feel uncomfortable. I don't even let it get the stress. Not, it's making me feel uncomfortable. I'm not doing that, So, yeah. But, I did my retirement numbers. That's what really took it over. I said, you want me to work 5, 6 more years for that? My mental health means a little bit more to me than that. I don't think so. You can have it. So again, I think God put that on my heart because I never had did my numbers before. God put that on my heart for me to look into some things. He put that in my spirit to say, hey. So again, I love having options. And I love having resources. And that's one thing. If you didn't hear me say anything, if you have the resources to talk to someone, please use it because we all need it. Regardless of what the outside looks like, we all need someone that we can talk to. And we never know how it's going to affect us until we do. And it's usually in a very positive way, you know? So I just applaud everyone to talk to someone to see, you know, the greatness that you will have when you, as we say, lay on the couch. Because for us in the field that I'm in, and all the people that I work around, we have no stigma for it. I'll tell you in a minute. Don't call me. I'm getting ready to lay on the couch. I need this more than what you know. I'm getting ready to lay on the couch. I have an out of office on. Do not contact me.
Loretta, how did you get to, my question would be, how did you get to that point? Because this is what I see in terms of the transition. There was a point where you were living your normal life, everything halted, and then it gradually started to open up again, and people started moving back into the things that they used to do. However, at some point, you changed because you got comfortable in that space where you didn't have so many demands on you.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, now, everybody's meeting in the evenings. Everybody's having events. Everybody's doing all of these things that we used to do before COVID. And now all of a sudden you have to make these decisions about what you're going to re-engage in. And you have to be strategic about it. What are you doing? How are you incorporating things that you maybe valued before, but maybe did too much of? What are you doing?
So what I'm doing is, and that's a great question, what I'm doing is I'm only engaging in things in small numbers. So, you know, long is gone the weekend where I'm out there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I might do something this weekend, might not do something for 2 weekends in a row, might do something else. And when people ask me, I said, no, I have other plans. Now, my other plans might be is to clean my house and wash my clothes and to relax, because that's what I want to do with my weekend time. So I don't allow people to put demands on me because I already know what I want to do with my time. So again, you know, it's graduation time. So yeah, go to some graduations or whatever, or I might meet somebody for brunch. Or something, but I'm not gonna get back out there and do all that crazy stuff that I was doing before, because I like the space that I'm in right now. I love it.
So in other words, you establish external boundaries,
yes,
and internal boundaries.
Yes, and even for myself, and I don't even feel guilty. I don't even feel guilty about it. Because I have to, remember I said now, I'm ensuring my self-care like I do my car and my house, okay? And I can't do that if I'm trying to please other people.
That's right.
Okay? And so you ought to see me running out of the house to go get my facial, go get my hair done. I'm knocking over something trying to get to them appointments, as well as to go lay on the couch. Nothing is going to come in between the things that make me feel good about myself. No more the long gone of the days that I put somebody else above those things that make me feel good. I know what makes me feel good, what makes me happy, what brings me joy. And I also know what slows me down. And God has slowed me down for a purpose. I know it. I hear him. He's talking to me right now.
Yes.
I was too busy. I was in everything, doing everything. Nothing could come to DC that I wasn't involved in. Now, send me a picture. Send me a video. I'm fine.
Sister Rosaline.
Yes, sir.
I like what that sister was saying, because she is so right. Because a lot of times, you know, with this new thing that's going on, it gave us a chance to get ourselves together and take care of us. Because the mental part of it is, you can't put yourself in a position on the job like it's your fault what's going on, and you got to make up the slack for somebody else. You heard what she was saying about how people just leave and just take off. That's on them. You can only do so much. And I think a lot of times since this COVID, people are trying to make up for other people. Like, it's your fault that we're in the COVID. No, what the COVID done did is show me that I'm gonna stay in my lane, and I'm not getting in all those other different lanes. You know what I'm saying? When I got time to take care of myself, I need to take care of me, because I do know this. I'm not working myself because I'm disabled veteran. But my point is, you got to always remember that if you miss a day or you leave, the company ain't gonna close up, and you can't make up the slack for other people. We have to take care of ourselves and always be thankful and thanking God that we have a job. But He didn't tell us why we got a job. We got to be doing everybody's job. You do your own and do my 8 hour, whatever I'm going. I'm going home. Nope, I don't want no overtime. Nope, I don't care about raise right now. I know the company. And just do that and take care of yourself and other things. And I think that's what the COVID did for me and my mental stage, is that I have to feel that impact from my wife, who is a working person, that just take it easy. She's a teacher. She's an educator. They ain't never got enough help. I got to go. No, you ain't got to go do nothing. If you don't go tonight, I bet you in the morning they open back up. So it's all about self-taking care. And just remember that it's not putting yourself like it's your fault and you got to help this company or whatever your situation. No, they're going to be all right. And Sister King, that was very good what you said. Take care of yourself.
I am.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Sister King, I like that self-care help. I really appreciate what you said tonight, because that's just what I am doing now. After raising my family, after being a wife, and I am now retired. And I got through the pandemic. We didn't have family reunions, but we stayed connected. We had Zoom meetings and prayer meetings. Everybody cooked at their own house. That means they didn't have to come to my house. I didn't have to cook it. But I tell you what, now that things look like they're going to have a reunion this year, and they are expecting me to come. But you know what? I'm thinking that I may not come. I don't want people to expect me. I'm trying not to try to please everybody, but I'm going to try to prioritize what's pleasing to me and how to take care of myself. But the pandemic has taught me a lot. But I talk to a lot of women all the time about self-care. And I tell my sister, who lost her husband a couple of years ago, I said, honey, take care of yourself. She didn't. She denied taking care of herself, but her husband died and she's still stuck. She won't get back in the mode of taking care of herself. I said, if you don't take care of yourself, you're no help for anyone else. So you have to take care of yourself. So now I take care of myself. I did a little exercise when I was working 8 hours a day, but now I take time for me every day to get it in.
Excellent. Excellent. What do you say to some people may say, well, that's very selfish. What's your response to that?
Well, my response to that is, it's not about being selfish, but you can't get water from a turnip. You can't get juice from a turnip. If I'm not at my best, then how can I give my best to anybody else?
There you go.
So it starts with you. And so, even when you're on the airplane, you know how they tell you to put the mask on yourself first, or you put it on the child that's next to you? It's a reason for that. Okay, it's a reason why they tell you that. So I think that our society has, especially women, has tried to make women feel guilty about looking after themselves, because you better look after your husband, you better look after your kids, you better look at all, everybody else before you look at yourself. No. You owe it to yourself and to your family for you to be 100% so you can be your best for them. And that's how I look at it. Even your small circle of friends. Nobody needs to see you when you're stressed out, mad, angry, okay? Because you need to go talk to somebody about, the anxiety that you are experiencing or the depression that you are experiencing, because those are real things. Okay, those are real things during those times, and everybody went through that during COVID. So if you don't see about those things for yourself, then how can you feed into anybody else?
Loretta, there's someone online that wants to know, what advice do you have for a single working parent? How can they fit into this self-care box?
Okay, so for a single parent, I don't have any kids, but if I was a single parent, what I would do is I would start small. So that you have you're on a schedule with your kids and your work and with school, if they're school age or whatever. But that's where I think a village comes in. That's why I think that I would ask a family member, hey, would you mind watching my child for a couple of hours, for you to do something that brings you joy, even if it's for you to return home and to journal into peace. If it's for you to return home and take a bubble bath in peace, what's going to speak to your spirit more. Okay, you can barter with other single mothers. You take their kids and babysit them while they go do something for self-care, and then they take your kids and do something for self-care. But I think that you have to, and I say this for all of us, we have to open our mouths and we have to speak it. We have to let people know that we need assistance, and I don't think that we do that enough. So I think if you talk to your family and friends and let them know, then I think that you will find out that there really is a bigger need for all of you to get together and be able to help you out. And hopefully you do have family and friends that you can count on.
So Brandy, I saw you had your hand up and you pulled it down. Were you asking the same question? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Loretta King, for being a part of our discussion tonight. I hope that we've learned some things.
Don't go yet. I'm helping the guest.
She got a question, but she's working, and so she wants to talk for a couple more seconds because she got a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your question, Randy?
No, she's one of our young adults, but she's trying to work and get in. This is the new normal. You can work and get in the new normal. And so, okay, here she comes now.
I told them I don't work 3 to 11, so they want me to work 3 to 11 today. They're gonna have to deal with it. Okay, so I mean, I guess I was asking the same thing, like with being a single mother and stuff like that. Like when you don't even have family that can get them for you or something like that. When you're trying to like work on your mental, how, like when you've been so stuck and accustomed to making sure that everybody else is straight except for you, like how do you ease out of that?
Okay. So do we have any resources to help Miss Brandy that could offer some babysitting or something? Is anything like that available in Gainesville?
Yes.
Okay.
I have child care, so they go to daycare during the daytime, and I get them at nighttime. But it's more than that. It's more than that.
Okay. So, Roxalina, can you talk to Miss Brandy offline?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be good. And I commend you for for asking that question and to reach out. Again, you have to say something so people can be able to reach out and to assist you, because that's really that's the new normal. That's the new normal. Being able to speak up and let people to, help you and not have a stigma about asking for help.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Absolutely. 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 Well, guess
if I can
we're
encourage, if I can say something to Brandy, just regarding being in a situation which may be very different from other people around you. I just think back when I married, I inherited 4 children and a husband all at one time. So my whole life changed. And so where my single friends were enjoying life and taking time to do all these extra things to take care of themselves, I had to struggle to figure out how to do this. But if I'd listened to what Loretta was saying from the beginning in terms of the small things, I had to learn how to just find small increments of time for me so that I could figure out how to be my best self. But I had to capitalize on those things and make that time, especially when it was time that I had to spend with God, make that time valuable and not long for those periods of time when I would just have this lengthy period of time to go and get my nails done, go and get a massage, or go and have a trip. And what I had to realize is that it was just a season. And so in this season, I might not be able to do all those things that other people are able to do to find that moment or that space to take care of themselves. But I tried not to, and I had to learn how to find those small moments. So for instance, I had to get up a little bit earlier once I realized everybody else's schedule, so I could just take advantage of that time, because I knew that, okay, they're going to be asleep at this time. So I had to condition myself that this is going to be my moment. But it does take a lot when you're not just responsible for you and you can't control when everybody else is going to have a need. So you got to figure out just in that season, and it changes. And especially with small children, even watching my grandchildren, every week I'm watching Jay, who's about to turn 1, start doing different things. And so what we had to do for him, a month ago, we don't have to do that same thing because he's growing. But I think that you just got to figure out, don't covet, what space other people have and worry about that and try to put yourself in that box. But look at your situation and take exactly what she said, take it in small increments. I might not be able to get an hour, but I'm going to take my 15 minutes and I'm going to make sure that I'm focused on me, and then be relentless about making sure those 15 minutes are the 15 minutes that you have. But sometimes you have to just force yourself to do it. And then it's a small, if you journal, if you do some other things that you can do at the same time in that space when they are in childcare, on your way to it. Sometimes we have to get it in the car. I used to feel like, it's probably not safe to be driving this way because I might break out in a praise break and be crying all the way because the Lord is ministering to me, as I'm trying to figure out how do I manage all of this, because I don't feel like I'm doing any of it well. And God would just revive, and then I would be ready to go and face it. So that would be my thought in terms of just capitalizing on what we heard here tonight and trying to put it in context of your specific situation.
Good information. Good information.
Great information.
Well, we're at the 8 o'clock hour, and I thank you all for joining this has been a very good discussion regarding our new normal, and I hope everybody got something out of it. And Pastor Rawls, I'm going to let you have the final words.
So I just want to ask the coordinators if you all could make sure, I never claimed her as my auntie, I always claimed her as my cousin, but that you all bring my auntie Loretta back again for another conversation one day, because I think the conversation was There's a lot of responses on social media. I think it was a good conversation, and so please keep her in your Rolodex, and bring her back again.
She's so busy, you never can tell where she may be.
No, she ain't playing.
I'm not busy.
Hey,
I'm not busy.
she ain't. Hey, Roxy,
She's busy taking care of.
She ain't playing that self-care game with us. No, we part of the self-care.
No, I'm not busy anymore. Whenever you think to come back, no problem.
Hey.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
everybody, thank you for joining again. Go ahead and share this post because there's somebody that needs to hear the conversation. Somebody needs to hear the conversation. And so even if you don't hear it live, you're hearing it from at a whole nother time. Share the post. If you have to send a private messenger, share it to help someone out, because we're living in a new normal and we have to care for our mental wellness, meaning that we have to first care for ourselves before we can care for anyone else. So God bless you and have a wonderful week. Thank you, Loretta.
Thank you.
Thank you.